2010 posting trick shot montage content of Call of Duty. Over the years, he signed up for many popular professional gaming organizations. In 2016, Kiwi started a gaming organization with some friends. His career was on the up, but just 6 months later, he stepped down when the internet started buzzing about something he had done with an underage girl. The story goes that Kiwi was 17 years old. Not only did he send inappropriate messages to a 12-year-old girl, but he also exchanged with her. A couple of years later, when she was just 14 and he was 19, the internet predator iceberg.
The sick and disturbing internet predator iceberg.
Okay, so the girl is 14 now, and Kiwi's is 19. Now Kiwi keeps saying, but she lied about her age. But she lied about being 2 years older.
However, he later admitted to it and apologized on his YouTube channel and Twitter. Then Kiwis went off the internet for a while. When he got back, his followers welcomed him back with open arms. He has over 4 million followers across YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter. Mad Thad 0890. Born Thaddeus McMichael, Mad Thad 0890 was a big fan of anime, manga, and video games. He was such a big fan that he developed feelings for an anime character. Mad Thad had images of her in frames on mousepads and even a body pillow. He even proposed to her. In one infamous video, Mad Thad recorded himself humping the pillow. If Mad Thad had kept his bizarre desires to just that, it would have been chalked up to being an eccentric, but he didn't. On his Facebook page, he often wrote about getting off on little kids, but he didn't stop there. Mad Thad also wrote advice on how to look for child pornography, how to encrypt it, and what he does while watching it. Then he put out a video admitting that he got off on rape and incest, then wished
some of this shit is just really hard to listen to. It does kind of remind me that my Imgur account disappeared. I've been banned there before, but they send me a little message saying hi, acting all cheerful about it, and I can still access my pictures and links. I just can't comment on the boards. So I noticed I had been logged out on all my devices, and when I tried to log in, it said my password was wrong, and I know it's not wrong. But then if I started doing searches for my account, it would come up and show that I had a folder of favorites, and I think it only had like 6 things in one of them. I don't know, but it was like it was still not completely deleted because it was a 20-year-old account. Probably thousands of pictures. I hope I still have duplicates of those. But yeah, it's just gone. And it was right after I called those MLPers. I mean, I was, browsing Imgur, looking at memes, and this dude, elbow deep in a horse, was the username. He keeps posting this whole freaking strings of My Little Pony porn. It's softcore porn because of how Imgur is, but it's fucking gross. It's the most depraved shit. Again, that's the way that one guy in one of these videos was just unfuckable. He was freaking mentally fucked up. And they were accusing him of being bad on the internet with a autistic chick or something. Anyway, he's just a piece of shit that can't get laid. He would fuck a goddamn turtle if he could catch it. It's just the depravity of some people. And the way I feel about the MLP people is that they've gone all down the list of different things that might fuck someone like them, and then they get to those ponies and think, well, there's not a lot of competition there. I guess maybe one of those plastic little girl ponies would fuck me, and that's what I'm going to think about. because I don't know what else they'd be thinking about. It just doesn't. Anyway, yeah, they're all every one of them I've ever known or dealt with is fucking degen. And I said as much. And I said I muted that elbow horse motherfucker, and then there was more of it. And I think I went back the next day, and I'm doing it, and I'm seeing it again. And I made a comment: how many accounts does this dude have? I keep muting or blocking, and I'm still just getting page after page of MLP porn. And it's disgusting. It seems like someone, like maybe that dude works there, and deleted my account and didn't follow any of the rules about making sure that I violated any community standards, which I don't, but I think he does. And just deleted my account. And they're trying to make that shit go mainstream. And that'll never happen because it's fucking stupid. If it wasn't for the internet, none of those people would know the other ones exist. There's so few of them. They would never meet in real life. They have to put out newspaper ads looking for... Anyway. Fucking disgusting. But I want my account back. And that's stupid. It's just... I can't believe I'm still getting accounts messed up out of some petty little piece of shit with too much power. The internet has got a lot of that going on.
That he had a little sister to do it with. In 2012, the FBI came knocking and found Mad Thad had over 600 images of sadistic child pornography and a flash drive he wore around his neck.
God
He was
damn.
charged with 1 count of sexual exploitation of a minor and sentenced to 72 months. He got out in 2018 and was ordered to delete his online accounts and register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. Level 5. Jinbot. Starlet Zhao, better known as Jinbot, is an American former gaming YouTuber known for playing a variety of games, including Minecraft and Insane. He was quite popular with kids between 10 and 14, and by 2015 he had crossed 100,000 subscribers and received his YouTube Black. But 1 year later, he would go from YouTube star to serving a 7-year prison sentence. So,
Ready for another mission, Helldiver?
Early in 2016, the parents of one of Jinbot's 14-year-old fans noticed that she was often on Skype calls with him. They also noticed that she had started wearing a locket with his picture on it and buying lingerie. They started to monitor her calls with Jinbot, and they would hear him get her to strip and show him her lady bits. He discussed many inappropriate things with her, including how to shave. There was a lot of evidence that Jinbot knew she was 14. 23-year-old Jinbot groomed her for months. When he started making plans to meet her at a gaming convention in Florida and have sex with her, the FBI stepped in. Zhao was at the Detroit Metro Airport, ready to meet her, when the police showed up and dumped a bucket of ice on his plans. He was arrested and detained for receiving and producing child pornography, online enticement of a minor, and traveled with intent to engage in illicit sexual activity. They also found out that he was involved in producing and selling child pornography. He was sentenced to 7 years behind bars and released in 2022. Feature Man. Like Plasma Master Don, Feature Man is another predator that used his age to hide the predator that he was. Feature Man, aka Tom Willett, spent his career as an actor, musician, stand-up comic, and radio announcer. When he retired, he switched Hollywood for YouTube and played a lonely old guy, passing his time reviewing things like TV dinners and fast food. His channel was pretty unknown until 2018 when it blew up. But 5 years later, a newspaper article about his arrest was posted on Reddit. That was when Willett turned to his YouTube channel, put out a video, and told everyone about the dark past he'd been hiding all along. In November of 1973, Willett was playing in a musical group. He volunteered to entertain the children at Child Haven in Las Vegas. But this predator had something else on his mind. After the show, he followed one of the underage boys to his room under the guise of teaching him to play the guitar. And that is when he sexually assaulted the teenager. That same month, Willett volunteered at the Eddie Lee Home for Boys to help them set up for Christmas, but that was all a lie. Afterward, Willett found another underage boy to assault. When he wasn't volunteering at boys' homes to have his way with underage children, Willett would invite them to his house trailer, show them graphic films, and seduce the children. The night the police stormed into his trailer to take him down, they found 3 underage boys in his house. He was convicted of 3 counts of molesting a minor and was handed 3 life sentences, but these were later suspended and he ended up getting probation. He later deleted the video in which he confessed, and that was that. To this day, Feature Man still posts content on YouTube. Austin Jones. Austin Jones was once him to play the guitar, and that is when he sexually assaulted a teenager. That same month, Willett volunteered at the Eddie Lee Home for Boys to help them set up for Christmas, but that was all a lie. Afterward, Willett found another underage boy to assault. When he wasn't volunteering in boys' homes to have his way with underage children, Willett would invite them to his house trailer, show them graphic films, and seduce the children. The night the police stormed into his trailer to take him down, they found 3 underage boys in his house. He was convicted of 3 counts of molesting a minor and was handed 3 life sentences, but these were later suspended and he ended up getting probation. He later deleted the video in which he confessed, and that was that. To this day, Feature Man still posts content on YouTube. Austin Jones. Austin Jones was once a very popular YouTube musician, best known for his acapella covers. Sugar We're Going Down by Fall Out Boy and Sorry by Justin Bieber were just 2 songs he covered that shot the 26-year-old to fame. By 2014, he had amassed 534,000 subscribers and more than 41 million views on YouTube alone. Jones had big plans for 2015, starting with performing at the Vans Warped Tour. Then, in May, an anonymous 15-year-old girl started a Change.org petition asking that Jones be removed from the lineup. The petition alleged that Jones was asking girls as young as 13 to flirt and send videos of themselves to him. It received more than 9,000 signatures, not quite the 10,000 needed, yet Jones withdrew from the tour. He also put up a video on his YouTube channel admitting that though he had asked for twerking videos, there were never any involved. This, of course, turned out to be a lie. In June 2017, Homeland Security investigators executed a search warrant on Jones and found out that he'd been chatting with a 14-year-old fan. He told her she was his biggest fan and needed to prove it by dancing in the nude. While she was dancing, he told her to keep repeating her age in the video.
Helldivers, you are moving outside the mission area.
10. she was naked. She wasn't the only one. Jones reached out to at least 30 girls to send in explicit photos and videos using Facebook and iMessage. They were all of them between 14 and 50. He even told them what underwear to wear. Jones pleaded guilty to child pornography charges and was sentenced to 11 years in prison. He is still behind bars. As for his YouTube channel, it has since been demonetized. WeGP. WeGP is a 19-year-old French gaming YouTuber best known for creating Super Mario games and videos. He had 2 million followers by 2023 and was quite popular in the gaming community until the bubble burst in January of 2024. A Twitter user named HushMush14 attached a Google document accusing Lucas of being racist, homophobic, and transphobic. He was also accused of using slurs towards other people, as well as using the N-word and the F-slur, and sending explicit photos to minors. At first, WeGP made jokes about the allegations. Then he put out a statement downplaying the slurs and insisting that many documents were taken out of context. He did not take the allegations seriously. He also announced he would leave Twitter and other social media. But if WeGP thought that this would silence Hushmush, he was wrong. A month later, the Twitter user put out a follow-up document. This document stated that WeGP groomed minors and sent inappropriate pictures of himself to them. It also mentioned that he kept explicit photos of underage children on his computer and shared them on Discord servers. WeGP said he would have a response, but that he was in the hospital. Not long after, a third document dropped on Twitter, and it warned about a relationship WeGP had with a 13-year-old when he was 17. He had made her do things she wasn't comfortable with, video calls while she was in the shower. He also had sex with her and convinced her to trade. It wasn't just one girl. Another admitted that WeGP had groomed her while she was 12 and he was 18. His current girlfriend was also 14 while he was 18. Instead of addressing the allegations, WeGP made a post about the work. A fourth document was put out in March of 2024, and it came with another victim of abuse. It wasn't until April, 3 months after the first allegation dropped, that WeGP made a response. It did not go down well. Since then, his name has been deleted from the credits of many videos he's worked on. Lovely Peaches. Brittany Johnson, best known for her social media persona Lovely Peaches, is a 19-year-old TikToker whose content is more outrageous than lovely. She gained fame on social media in 2016, but has been suspended or banned so many times that it's hard to keep track. Each time she comes back with a slightly different angle, pushing on content that swings from inappropriate and outrageous to truly far-fetched. In one live stream in 2019, Brittany said that she had hired the perfect 30-year-old man to 16-year-old Charlie D'Amelio.
On a tall, heavy, long black man to Charlie her intuition.
Warning, you are leaving the mission area.
Charlie D'Amelio, I want to see you.
She also claimed to be in a public relationship with a minor. Another time, she said she wanted to see 2 minors put together, yet her followers kept insisting that she was just trolling, even after she ate her food and drank her pee. It wasn't until she flashed a minor on Instagram Live that they accepted she was a predator. For the first time, Brittany would face repercussions for her actions was in 2021, after she was arrested over a video she posted on Instagram. In the video, Brittany picked up her dog by the neck and sprayed perfume on its face. She also said she had broken the dog's legs.
Finally got back his
Mission at 10 minutes remaining.
His legs and had broken in half. And it was honestly very easy to break. So he started screaming in pain. So I broke his other leg to make him be quiet, but he started screaming even louder.
Several people called the police, and Brittany was charged with cruelty to animals. Her dog was taken away, but animals aren't the only things that aren't safe around her. Brittany's own daughter, Cora Miracle, is a regular on Brittany's channels, and not in a good way. When Cora was just 4 months old, Brittany said the baby had an affair with her boyfriend, and she would disown her.
Oh, dear
But that was
God.
only the beginning. Brittany would make up stories about selling her daughter's
Squad lost. Deploying replacement
Another
squad.
time, she said Cora was dead, and went into detail about how she had taken
Request
her life.
approved.
Brittany even
Reinforcements have been
advertised
launched.
Oh my fucking god. Fuck off.
for men to pay to her infant. After many unsuccessful attempts, Brittany finally lost custody of Cora. Her expensive videos on YouTube have been taken down. Ryan Haywood. Ryan Haywood is an American voice actor, best known for his work with Rooster Teeth, a popular American video production company. He was also a member of the Achievement Hunter segment that streamed on Twitch. He was married and had 2 kids, and his kids showed up with him on his Twitch streams every once in a while. But this image of the wholesome family man had a secret he was keeping, and it came out when his naked picture suddenly started circulating online, along with a rumor that this was just one of the explicit pictures Ryan had sent to underage girls. Ryan was fired from Rooster Teeth, but that was only the beginning. Some of his former co-workers came forward with stories that 2 years earlier, a fan had come forward with screenshots showing that Ryan had sent inappropriate message to her. More victims have come forward against Ryan with accusations ranging from online solicitation to statutory. One 17-year-old said he was very rough and had taken off his condom. This was a common theme with a lot of Ryan's victims, even from consenting adults. A Reddit user then escalated the issue by compiling a spreadsheet detailing the allegations against Ryan. Ryan released a statement saying he had made mistakes, but insisted that he hadn't done anything wrong. However, more victims came forward. Not only is there a compiled Google Sheet of his victims, but there is also a victim support page on Twitter. Ryan disappeared from social media for a while, and then, in early 2021, he attempted to make a comeback on Twitch, but he was booed off and banned. He has since disappeared from the public radar.
Man, the one with that chick.
Lion Kill. Marcus Wilson.
Going to disown her daughter for cheating on her
He had more than 30
with her boyfriend when she was 8 months old.
The 29-year-old was well on his way to a YouTube Hall of Fame.
God damn.
On June 12, 2015, he made 2 mistakes. The first was offering 16-year-old Stephen Cheeks $500 for a full frontal nude photo of himself. The second was paying to the teenager's PayPal. And the third mistake was messaging another underage kid. This time, 12-year-old Chantel. He also asked her to send nude photos of herself. But Wilson
I should have knocked that building out. That was giving us cover.
the other end of the chat, and she immediately contacted the Belgian police. When the investigation dragged on, she contacted YouTuber Keemstar and told him what had happened. Keemstar broke the news on Twitter with 2 videos flat out calling Wilson a predator. He also mentioned a contest Wilson had done called Booty in the Face, where young fans were told to record themselves shaking their booties.
Pelican 1 landing sequence
Wilson
initiated.
He
Watch where
started
you're
out
standing.
calling Keemstar names on Twitter, then made a confession about a 14-year-old UK-based YouTuber called Peach Panda. Wilson tweeted that he had been in a relationship with her when she was just 14 and he was 27. Then he posted 2 nude photos of her on Twitter before going on a rant. A couple of hours later, he took down the tweets and claimed he'd been hacked. Yet 2 more minors came forward and said Wilson had asked for explicit pictures. Wilson continued to deny everything, insisting that screenshots had been faked. By this
Countdown
time,
initiated.
police in both
Extraction
Belgium
complete.
and the
Pelican
UK
1 beginning
were
ascent.
investigating him for distributing child pornography and statutory. In 2016, Wilson was arrested
You have
by Belgian
maintained
police
our way
and
of
held in jail for 10 months. He returned to streaming, but the online community kept reporting his channel. Finally, in 2020, his YouTube channel was banned for violating terms of service. He tried making a comeback on Mixer, but was kicked out. Jikishi. Demetrius Madsen, known online as Jikishi, is a former YouTube streamer and Minecraft content creator. On October 23rd, 2021, he received an invitation to join Dream SMP, which made his dreams come true. Then, a Twitter user by the name of Valksy tweeted that when she was 14 and Jikishi was 19, he had traded nudes with her. She also included screenshots. In chats, the streamer had made frequent requests for her nudes. He also said very explicit things to her. This had gone on for a year. Not long after, another Twitter user named Jaden made a similar allegation. She was also 14 when Jikishi started asking her for nude pictures. And that wasn't all. 39 more girls would tweet similar statements claiming Jikishi harassed them with sexual images and videos while they were underage. Just 2 days after he joined Dream SMP, they confirmed the accusations were all true and kicked him out. He never made any statement, but he still holds the record for the shortest time on the team.
Do you have gas armor?
Welcome aboard, Helldiver. The Super Destroyer is yours.
Allied destroyer has left squadron.
Guess not.
You're here. That galaxy awaits your salvation.
Yeah, I should clean up.
Zazev. Alexander Anatolievich Rudenko, more commonly known as Zazev, was a YouTuber whose content revolved around being an incel and wanting a girlfriend. He spent his time whining about loneliness and filming himself asking random women for their numbers. In a 2017 video entitled I Got Hugged by a Girl, Zazev went on and on about how he hugged his cousin for 2 seconds. Understandably, many of his followers assumed he was just trolling and playing as a desperate pervert. Then in 2018, undercover police received information that Zazev had made inappropriate advances in some minors. So they set up a sting operation and got in touch with him, pretending to be a 13-year-old girl. Zazev fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. He showed up for his date by noon, expecting to have intercourse with a minor. Instead, he ended up in cuffs. Zazev was 22 years old at the time. He was in jail for a couple of months and ordered to register as a sex offender. But that was not the end. 4 years later, Zazev was back on the police radar. He had been making up fake identities to meet minors on social media. He also frequented recreational areas that minors visited, like parks and cinemas. That was how he ended up actually assaulting a 14 and 17-year-old. Zazev was arrested on several charges, from lewd acts with a child under 14 to sodomy and oral copulation. He was released on $135,000 bail. While Zazev was still waiting for prosecution in that case, the police found him with child pornography. That would make it the third criminal case linked to minors in 6 years. This time, he was locked up
Countless
without bail.
opportunities for justice to be
Level 7.
dispensed.
Dr. Nikolaus Bate. Nikolaus Boyd Stautzenberger, better known online as Dr. Nikolaus Bate, is an American former YouTuber mostly known for his filthy personal habits. Nick has made videos claiming that he doesn't shower, clean himself, or brush his teeth. Nick also admitted that he is a coprophiliac, someone who is excited by feces. In many videos, he would show the walls of his home covered with feces. He also went on rants on Twitter about his sick fetishes, the girls he was e-stalking, and sniffing cats. Yet somehow he managed to get a girlfriend. Her name was Anna, and the two had met on a roleplay forum. Nick became extremely obsessive about Anna. He wrote fan fiction and drew pictures about her involving his poop fetish. He talked about how he masturbated to her texts and begged her to marry him. Anna also got a front seat to hear about all his fetishes. In one chat log, Nick told Anna he had molested his half-sister Amber. He also said he
Liberty
raped her.
calls for aid
She didn't
across
believe
the
him,
galaxy.
but she did break up.
Only you can
It wasn't
decide
until
where to
April of
answer.
2015 that Nick was arrested for incest. Turns out that he had raped his sister when she was between 5 and 7. The illicit chats he'd had with Anna were used to nail him. Nick was found guilty and was sentenced to serve 16 to 40 years in prison. When he gets out, he must also register his whereabouts with the police for the rest of his life. Raul Zito. Raulino de Oliveira Maciel, who goes by the name Raul Zita, is a Brazilian Fortnite player and video game streamer. He amassed 117,000 followers on Twitch and roughly 144,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, making family-friendly content. But that wasn't all Zito was doing. Using his experience, he started a consultancy firm to find young gamers and child talent, trying to get into the gaming universe. Any kid who signed up with Zito was promised jobs in the gaming world and TV industry. Zito contacted the parents of talented children. When the parents agreed, he would train the children at his studio or their parents' homes. Everything seemed above board until a 14-year-old boy told his mother that Zito had sexually abused him for 4 months. A 10-year-old boy would also come forward with the same allegation. Zito was arrested and charged with 2 counts of statutory. A police investigation would uncover 7 more children that he abused, all between the ages of 10 and 14. One of his early victims was a 28-year-old man called Lucas Martinelli Caetano. According to Lucas, when he was 12 and Zito was 20, Zito would come around
Decide
to play
upon
video
which
games.
battle
This went on
you
for
shall
a
spread
year.
liberation.
Then Zito assaulted him. Based on this, many are convinced that there are a lot more victims out there.
Oh. That's fucking gross. Scammer, liar, pedo. I'm gonna listen to that hour and 40 minutes of that shit. Oh. This chick is fucking JoJo Siwa has ruined her career before I even knew she had one.
Any
Never
of
heard
them,
about her.
there are a lot more victims out there.
But then when she screwed up, I did. Oh, okay. Yeah, you motherfuckers. I accidentally clicked that, and when I tried to go back and unclick, it's not showing it to me anymore. Apologetic scammer Lisa Richards. Oh, there it is. That's about OnlyFans models. I like shows about OnlyFans models.
This one officially puts us actually in hell.
Yeah. This is one of those chicks that have.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video
They have
is
a very
sponsored
particular
by
way of
Helldivers.
filming. Yes, and it does
So,
that. They all do that.
everybody, I
All
have
three of them.
once
It'll
again
just
been on the
boom,
internet
zoom in on
have
and move
1,000
back.
things that I wish I could delete from my memory.
There,
And
but she's
because
not
I
centered.
am
It's
in
cutting off
fact
the top of her head.
bored, I am
Oh,
going
wait.
to once
Yeah,
again
it's him.
vomit this terrible information into your faces. You know, I'm just feeding my little baby birds, which is all of you.
Nope,
Honestly,
there it was
though,
again, the zoom.
for anybody who's new here, and this might be the
And
first video that
three
we're
of these
watching,
chicks showed
that's me
up all at
talking
the same
about
time.
vomiting
And it's some production
in
company
their
that's throwing out
mouth.
channels
So, it's a bird reference.
on everything,
I'm
trying to
the
see what
bird.
sticks.
You're the baby birds. And the vomit is news.
Yep.
It's news
Where's
vomit.
he?
So I made a video very recently where I expressed the opinion that spicy
This is actually
content,
more
particularly
heavy.
that which is posted on OF, is only going to get more and more extreme and psychotic as time wears on. Once again, OF
Of course.
is the website that is dedicated to singular fans, if you know what I mean. But I think as of late particularly, that point and that belief is
Pardon me.
being proved right over and over again. The last time I talked about this, I used the example of mattress actress Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue being locked in a competition of sorts to one-up the other. And
Mattress
Bonnie Blue was
actress.
trying to play hide the sausage with teenage boys.
And neither of them are attractive.
Fairly legal 18-year-olds. So come and get me on my knees.
She looks horrible.
And let me celebrate you getting into uni, boys.
I don't like this. Why are we this way? The whole thing was extremely weird, and honestly, I've tried to block it out. Actually, our friend Lily Phillips has gone viral again
But a
just in the
single
last
triumph
couple weeks for
and the
saying she
operation
started
is
watching adult content at age 11 and believes that other young children should also watch this to learn.
Well, I think you should be learning from it from that age. I do believe that, because that's when you start to think about things like that. But learning, maybe not learning, maybe not learning from pornography, but I do think understanding it more from that age would be helpful.
That's gonna be a no from me there, Chan. Although I can't say that I'm so surprised to hear this from the woman who recently did the backdoor challenge. I did tell you guys this is the Hell Gondola, and we are in fact on it, or in it, if you're one of the people who thinks it's the suspended air version. Anyway, it's very clear for all to see that there is an acceleration in the amount of spicy content being posted online. And like I've already mentioned previously, in this quest
Is there,
to
though?
carve out more market share on these spicy platforms, The type of content being made and posted is only getting more and more extreme. But it's also getting really, really specific. And it's being made in such a way that it targets specific adult interests, if
Just
you will.
like
And
I
as
was
AI
saying about you and your people. Yeah. They're, they're trying to find their niche. Just like you.
is getting better and more sophisticated, we have officially entered a very, very disturbing period of time. Like, more so than usual. I know we've been here for a while.
I don't
In
agree
my
with that
recent
opinion.
travels of the internet, I came across this article from back in mid-March headlined, "People are using AI to create influencers with Down syndrome who sell nudes." Yes, this is happening, and no, it's not a joke. But if nothing else, this is the complete encapsulation of what it means to live in 2025. I actually noticed this happening myself over the last 2 months or so, where these videos started popping up all over my Instagram feed, and I genuinely thought I was going mad. Many of these accounts have thousands of followers and tons of interaction, although I am guessing that the followers have been purchased, so I don't know if that makes it better or worse. Do with that information what you will. But the content being posted is hypersexualized with hypersexualized captions, and almost all of this is being linked back to explicit adult content websites. Now, admittedly, when I first started seeing these videos myself, I thought this was a filter because they're getting very, very, very good. But then I dug a little deeper and I found that, as the aforementioned article explains, this Down syndrome face, these features, are part of the general practice of stealing real people's content and replacing the faces with AI-generated faces. Like this video, for example, showing a sexualized woman who appears to have Down syndrome, but this is the actual woman who made the original video. Or sometimes it just becomes AI inception because I think this one woman is not real, I think she's AI made. But then they've gone ahead and given her a Down syndrome appearance as well. And this is bizarrely common. I just want to know who's captioning these videos. Syndrome is down, but peach booty is up. I don't know if that's peach booty. I'm going to say peach booty because that's what that means to me. Down syndrome doesn't mean I can't give you what you want. Who is writing these? I don't know, guys. I've definitely told you about some questionable
AI is
stuff
probably
during
writing
my
those too.
travels of the internet over the years, but this is just stop the world. I want to get off. You know, I'm sure that there are a bunch of things that all of us would like to stop, particularly in our personal lives, like debt, which is why today's video is sponsored by PDS Debt. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I think owing any amount of money in a personalized plan specifically for you, like random schmoes up the road, they also have a 5-star rating. Anyway, when I first started looking into this, I was fully convinced that I was just going to dunk on some OF girls and then go on my merry way. But the longer that I looked, the weirder all of this got and the more rabbit holes that I found, and I had just come to the conclusion that the internet is a mistake. As you can probably guess, as the creation of these AI-generated people and faces has gotten better and better, it's opened up a lot of money-making avenues. And so people have started making profiles that cater to really specific adult interests, if you know what I mean. Which, again, all link back to
This chick's AI.
platforms like Patreon and this new one called FanView. And actually, fun fact, OF has some strict rules around using AI on its platform. It bans deepfakes, doesn't allow purely AI-generated content, and you can't use real people and edit them without their permission. So once again, do with this information what you will. And as a bit of an aside, the AI-generated fetish content gets really specific and really weird. This account, for example, is full of completely AI-generated images of amputees because apparently that is an adult interest people have. I guess they like nubs. I mean, silver lining to all of you who are missing limbs right now. Apparently you're sitting on a bit of a gold. Lose an arm, feel the diamonds. Even left ear, for those of you with backwards facing feet. Okay, what am I looking at here? As expected, this particular Instagram account links to a payment platform and the subscription platform Patreon, where it has 500 subscribers. Here are the Ampute Girl fans mommy issues to a whole new level. Some of you might even remember a woman I discussed a while ago called Diana Deeds, who went by the username Coconut Kitty, who would make spicy content and edit her face to look extremely young. She was accused of a fan of the playground baiting and eventually ended her time here on this planet back in
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver.
That sounds good. Horrible. Oh, that's for me. It's absolutely horrible.
Requesting air support.
sorry for the euphemisms, YouTube is a pain in the butt. So all of this, both online or offline, has been around for a very long time. Where there is an audience, there will always be people to service it. But now, with advancements in AI and other technology, we are entering some very awful territory. While I was looking into this, there was a part of me that thought that maybe some women are involved in this and using their content to basically capitalize on this
Orbital barrage incoming. Stand clear.
But now I am more or less convinced that this is a group of people or groups of people making fake women to extort money out of other people who are probably more than likely men. And here's why I say that. These accounts, these profiles, personas, all exist in what I can only describe as clusters. There will be these groupings of similar accounts, usually with some sort of similar name, and all the same stolen content, feeding back to either Telegram or, like I've mentioned, money-raising platforms and spicy platforms like FanView. Fun fact, FanView actually allows for AI-generated content if it is marked as such, which is terrible. When these accounts get banned, particularly on Instagram, they pop right back up with a new handle and new information. Two of the biggest accounts that you probably seen floating around are called Maria Dopari and Truly Special Girl. Both accounts have been deleted from Instagram but keep coming back like a disease. As the article I referenced earlier pointed out, after its deletion, the Maria Dopari account followed several other similar accounts with similar names that all posted the same stolen content but with slightly different Down syndrome faces on the stolen videos. I was able to find the Maria Dopari X account and saw exactly this in action. These videos are supposed to be the same woman, but as you can see, sometimes she has different AI-edited facial features. And the same story goes for a Truly Special Girl, who is one of 5 accounts all posting the same AI-altered content. So, it is dire to create a fake Down syndrome woman and then name her account Truly Special Girl. I'm not gonna lie, this is some bold stuff. Like, between the profile names and these psycho on-the-nose captions, whoever is doing this is going to hell. Stuff like this kind of makes me lose faith in humanity. Once again, during my travels on the internet, I found this same theme and this same pattern over and over and over again. One of the new posters that has popped up recently is this persona called Liliana, and it's still quite small, so we'll see how this goes. This one, to me, is especially weird because the videos posted go from pretty normal TikTok dancing lady content to abruptly turning into AI-generated Down syndrome face. Like, this one video shows a normal lady, and then the very next video is the AI-generated Down syndrome features. It's like, they're not even trying to hide it. It's also worth noting that I'm pretty sure that this woman isn't real either, so do with that what you will. Alarmingly, it's actually getting kind of hard to tell what is AI face and what is just someone filtering themselves into oblivion. Thankfully, you guys never have to worry about that again. Instagram that exclusively has the aforementioned Down syndrome face videos, except that these videos feature completely different women with very explicit captions. Interestingly, this Liliana situation doesn't link anywhere further just yet, so I'm not super sure what the play is, but there will be a play, let me assure you. So, more of the reasons why I don't think this is individual women doing this and is instead the act of scammers and spammers and whatnot has to do with Telegram, which is notoriously used by scammers. And this goes for the scammers who get in my comments and message those of you who then message me asking me if I
Mission at
told
30
you
minutes
Telegram.
remaining.
No, I didn't. I don't have a Telegram. Please don't give those people money. They are not me. I would never do that to you. I try to sell you weird merchandise and tea. That's what I try to do, and I don't try to get random money from you on silly apps. So we have Telegram, which is notoriously used by scammers, but then you also have the fact that when these accounts get deleted and they come back up, they usually have new information about the woman that they're supposed to be representing. The name will change, the age will change, the location will change, basically all of the characteristics that a real person would probably want to maintain about their profile are gone. For example, the Maria Depari account recently got smacked down by Instagram, but has since popped back up under the new name Maria Vez. The new Maria Vez persona has two new Instagram accounts, which have conflicting ages, one saying that this creator is 21, while the other says 23. When I looked into the profiles further, I found that these accounts are all made within the last month and are based in France. They've also changed the account's handle several times, which is abnormal for accounts that are only a month old. They also all link back to the same fan view, or the original fan view, I should say, and the original Telegram account. I don't want to get too in the weeds on the Maria Depari situation because, truth be told, it is a bit of a rabbit hole and it has some really good stuff. But looking into that account actually led me to finding the woman whose content is being stolen and used in this way. And yes, I reached out to her, and no, as of filming this video, she has not gotten back to me, but the whole thing there is very odd and very confusing, and she does reply, and I can look into this a little further if you guys want. I'll probably make a follow-up video. I actually had to ask my lovely thumbnail man, Giancarlo, if he wouldn't mind writing me a note in Spanish for her, and I reached out to him, and I was like, here's the thing, here's what I want you to write, and his response was basically just, I am so used to this from you, I'm not even gonna ask. He's a wonderful, tolerant human, so if
Allied
you guys
destroyer
ever need
joining
any
squadron,
insight,
deploying
I'll link
Helldiver to
his
combat.
website in the description because he's a good boy. Anyway, the other component here is that the profiles don't use the same people in the photos and videos. It's different women who are either real or who are fully AI generated, like this Farah Valdez persona. Again, the persona's Instagram has since been deleted, but I found its threads and fan view accounts. Videos and images like this, I think, are fully AI generated, but as you can see, this is just a bunch of stolen content from a bunch of different women. All of them are sexualized, and all of them are edited to look like they have Down syndrome. Now, this might be a stretch, but I find it really interesting that Maria Depari's new accounts are called Maria Vez, which feature a double Z. And the Clara account also spells its last name, Valdez, with a double Z. So it's pretty obvious why this specific issue is in fact an issue. And honestly, I think it opens the door to a bunch of different conversations. One being how people like me to begin with assumes that this is women making this kind of content and doing these things for clicks, which it isn't. But the more obvious conversations revolve around why AI is being used in this way, the victims who are having their content stolen and used like this, and how disabilities are being sexualized like this, because apparently there's a market for it. It is worth noting that on social media there are several notable people who have Down syndrome who do make content about their lives and their experiences and all this fun stuff, and they've generated quite large followings of people who are just happy to see them succeed and live their lives. But that's obviously not remotely what we're seeing right now, and this AI generated stuff in this context is extremely sinister. To be clear here, we are not talking about people exploring their quirks in some consensual way. We're talking about scammers and creeps using AI to exploit real women by stealing their content, slapping hypersexualized, fetishized faces on those women.
If you want to use that hover pack, you can.
From it on platforms like FanView and Patreon. And even worse, they're targeting vulnerable communities, people with disabilities and other things who already face enough stigma without being turned
Get the hover
into
pack.
some gross fantasy for profit. The reality is that AI is getting better every day, and I think with that comes a degree of responsibility to use it ethically. Maybe that's the entire degree. But instead, you've got people out here creating personas like Marie Depari and Truly Special World, and using, once again, stolen content to make a profit while exploiting vulnerable communities and, in a way, almost mocking them. Ultimately, I am of the opinion that AI can and will be a great tool when used responsibly in the correct context. And an offshoot like this, for example, has a lot of very destructive capabilities for individuals and society as a whole. People already, when it comes to AI, have a really hard time distinguishing real faces from AI faces, and even I have to admit, in this case, a lot of these videos got me. I was like, I'm not super sure what I'm looking at here. And so that in and of itself is a pretty alarming thing to consider, that we are having a hard time deciphering what's real and what's AI. So in the end, as long as we have AI and this type of application with deep fakes and AI-generated faces, I do not see this issue going away or lessening anytime soon. And honestly, I do actually foresee this issue getting worse as time progresses, especially as AI gets more sophisticated and people have a harder and harder time distinguishing real from fake. Now, on that very happy and pleasant note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder: check out PDS Deck using the link in the description or scanning the QR code on the screen. If this is something that you have issue with, it's worth checking out and getting your free assessment. Now, I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? I am very curious to hear your thoughts on this one. Are you on my side of this issue where you think this is creepy and wrong for a multitude of reasons? Are you on the other side of this issue where you just don't really see this as that big of a deal? It's maybe the natural progression of AI. This is a way of creating this kind of content without really hurting anybody. I disagree with that personally, but do you potentially think that? Do you think that it's predatory to do this to people who have disabilities? Do you think it's weird to be stealing people's content and putting someone else's face on top of it? Do you think this is normal? Do you think it's abnormal? Do you think it's setting us down a road that is going to get worse over time? Or do you think that this will eventually peter out and kind of just go away? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the ride. If you are new here and you're not subscribed already,
Freedom never sleeps!
Content, free to subscribe to the channel, as well as leaving this video a like and a comment, because I do read the majority of them, and it is free feedback. Of course, I hope you wonderful, pretty people stay safe and well and make good choices, and I will see your beautiful little squidgy faces in the next video.
Reinforcing! Request approved.
Or
Deploying
gossip,
reinforcements.
or
Objective nearby. Main objective nearby.
Check if last night's Air Force strike did anything to the bridge. A bomb damage assessment sort would be routine anywhere else. But here, every pass meant courting disaster. Tracers slashed through the air, hunting them down. Lieutenant Commander D.D. Smith yanked the stick hard, rolling his A-40 Skyhawk into a sharp corkscrew. G-forces crushed him into his seat, his vision narrowing. They only needed a split-second glance, just enough to confirm North Vietnam's main supply route had been destroyed. Smith threw the jet into a steep dive, then rolled inverted at the last possible second. His helmet pressed against the canopy as he craned his neck downwards for a clear view. His heart pounded. His eyes widened. Not a single beam was out of place. As anti-aircraft fire chased him away, Smith wondered what force on earth could break those beams. The bridge. The Tonhua Bridge, the Dragon's Jaw, was was a massive steel truss structure spanning the Mar River, essential for moving troops and supplies along Route 1. Destroying it would sever a key logistical artery for the North Vietnamese army. The enemy knew that perfectly well. 5 battalions of anti-aircraft artillery encircled the area, with dozens of 37mm and 57mm cannons arranged in interlocking fields of fire. Soviet-trained gunners had spent years perfecting their craft, waiting for moments like these. Surface-to-air missile sites stood beyond the immediate perimeter, covering the airspace. The first major assault on the bridge took place on April 3, 1965. The pilots had been briefed on the dangers: low cloud cover, enemy fire, and a target that had survived previous air raids.
Mission at 20 minutes remaining.
The attack, his F-105 Thunder Chiefs carrying 750-pound bombs and bolt-on missiles. Once over the Mar River, the true intensity of the defenses became clear. As the first jets approached, North Vietnamese spotters alerted the gunners, who unleashed a storm of flak barrages. The sky erupted with explosions, sending metal fragments tearing through the air. Pilots could feel their cockpits rattle from near misses, the concussions hammering their aircraft. Risner's jet took damage, fuel streaming from his fuselage as he fought to stay airborne. One by one, the F-105s made their bombing runs. Black smoke and fireballs from detonating ordnance momentarily obscured the bridge. The steel girders bore scorch marks and shrapnel holes, but the structure remained functional. Pilot Captain Ivy McCoy
Firing orbital barrage. Clear the area.
Bombs across the bridge. As I climbed down, all I could see was water and smoke. When it cleared, the damn bridge was still standing. The next morning, the skies over Tonopah were no less dangerous. USS Hancock launched its F-8 Crusaders and F-100 Super Sabres to provide escort for the bombers. North Vietnamese MiG-17s, waiting for their moment, screamed down from a higher altitude, diving straight into the formation. The American pilots reacted immediately. Lieutenant Commander Spence J. Thomas maneuvered his aircraft, dodging cannon fire as the MiG slashed through the sky. Captain Don Curtis spotted one of the enemy fighters closing in on a Thunder Chief. With his adrenaline surging, he lined up the shot. His F-100's 20mm cannons roared to life, sending rounds streaking through the air. Pilgrims recounted, quote, "I saw puffs and sparks on the vertical tail of the MiG. Their shells ripped through the aircraft and twisted in midair before plummeting into the jungle below." It was the first confirmed aerial takedown of the Vietnam War, but there was no celebration. The bridge still stood. The enemy defenses remained lethal, and the battle was far from over. Operation Carolina Moon. By May 1966, after a year of sustained bombing, the Tonopah Bridge appeared not to have been informed it was supposed to collapse. The U.S. Air Force intensified its assaults, throwing wave after wave of F-105 Thunder Chiefs at the target. The North Vietnamese reinforced the enemy with an additional 85mm and 100mm anti-aircraft guns, expertly coordinated by radar. These weapons created a danger zone so dense, pilots described it as flying through a solid wall of steel. Many never made it out. USAF commanders believed that heavier payloads might crack the bridge's back. They loaded the F-105s with M118 3,000-pound bombs, hoping sheer explosive force and D-Wood precision would fail to accomplish. The pilots made their run with high speed, gliding through clouds of shrapnel and flame. Again and again, they struck their marks, sending debris and pillars of fire skyward.
Oh, shit.
The explosion shuttered their cockpits as they pulled away. Yet the bridge remained mostly intact.
Yay,
The
it
U.S. Air
worked.
Force decided they needed to think outside the box, and they came up with Operation Carolina Moon. This mission would not rely on conventional bombs or guided munitions, but instead use massive airdrop mines to destroy the bridge from below. The plan called for modified C-130 Hercules aircraft to fly at extremely low altitudes over the Mar River, releasing specialized 5,000-pound mines designed to drift under the bridge before detonating. If successful, the explosion would sever the bridge's concrete piers, finally bringing it down. However, the operation was incredibly risky. The C-130s would be slow-moving, vulnerable to anti-aircraft fire, and required precise timing to ensure the mines reached their targets. The project involved 69 military and civilian personnel, including elite airlift crews from Stewart Air Force Base. Training took place at Eglin Air Force Base, where crews ran classified practice runs, familiarizing themselves with low-altitude, high-risk flying. Each aircraft must fly at just 500 feet above the ground at 150 knots, following a meticulously planned 47 nautical mile route into the
That's
target.
really, really slow.
On the night of May 31st, 1970,
This was
two
just a giant
C-130s from
plane.
the 15th Special Operations Squadron climbed into the night sky. The first aircraft, piloted by Major Robert Harrison, led the mission. As they approached the target, North Vietnamese radars their presence. Within seconds, the
Yep,
anti-aircraft
it's
artillery lit up
the
the sky,
stamina thing.
forcing the pilots to fly even lower to evade fire. The first C-130 reached the drop zone and released its 5 floating mines, but the river's currents made it difficult to confirm as they had settled beneath the bridge. Moments later, a direct hit from enemy flak struck the aircraft's right wing. Flames erupted as the crew fought to regain control. Damage was too severe. Harrison and his men went down in a fiery crash just south of the bridge. There were no survivors. The second C-130, following close behind, pressed on despite witnessing destruction of their comrades. Under blistering enemy fire, the crew managed to release its mines before making a desperate turn back home. The aircraft returned to base, riddled with bullet holes, but operational. In the aftermath, reconnaissance flights surveyed the damage. The explosions had caused structural damage to the bridge, but it remained standing. Intelligence later suggested that some of the mines had been washed downstream or failed to detonate properly, further diminishing the mission's success. But it remained with bullet holes. Under blistering enemy fire, the crew managed to release its mines before making a desperate turn back home. The aircraft returned to base, riddled with bullet holes, but operational. In the aftermath, reconnaissance flights surveyed the damage. The explosions had caused structural damage to the bridge, but it remained standing. Intelligence later suggested that some of the mines had been washed downstream or failed to detonate properly, further diminishing the mission's success. The mission was deemed a failure, yet it demonstrated the lengths the U.S. military was willing to go to eliminate the target.
Cool, it reset when we all got away from it.
Each costing $20,000,
That happened sometimes.
totaling $600,000 in $1965, or over $5 million today. Throughout 1967, the fight for the Dragon's Jaw escalated into a war of attrition. The North Vietnamese gunners, now seasoned veterans, adapted quickly to American attack patterns. They knew that no matter how powerful and organized the Americans were, they had one major flaw. They were predictable. For instance, they knew a bombing run was always followed by a bomb damage assessment run, and they were easy pickings. The North Vietnamese also anticipated the Americans' approach vectors and adjusted their targeting systems with efficiency. F-105s began to fall at an alarming rate. Captain Ivy McCoy recalled, quote, "It was like trying to punch through a stone wall with your bare hands." The losses mounted, forcing U.S. commanders to rethink their approach. The unparalleled defenses were not the only things American pilots had to worry about. There was also the issue of the MiGs. On April 4th, 1967, a swarm of MiG-17s descended on damaged American Thunder Chiefs, struggling to escape after a bombing run on the bridge. Zinc Flight, led by Major Frank Bennett, was caught off guard. The MiGs slashed through them with cannon fire, forcing the F-105 pilots to break formation. Bennett's jet took a direct hit, trailing smoke as he fought to keep it in the air. His wingman, Major James Magnuson, tried to cover him, but was shot down in
Enemy
seconds.
tactical asset within range.
Magnuson ejected over the ocean and was never seen again. Bennett managed to steer his burning aircraft toward Da Nang, but his engine flamed out into the Gulf. He ejected at a low altitude. His parachute barely deployed before he slammed into the water. Meanwhile, the number of American POWs in Hanoi swelled, including Captain Carlisle Snoopy Harris, who was shot down on April 4th, 1967, and captured. Many of these men, battered and broken, spend years in captivity, subjected to relentless psychological and physical abuse. American planners faced a grim reality. The Tonga Bridge had defied everything thrown at it. Even high explosive bombs obliterated other targets, left the bridge scarred but standing. The bridge had to fall.
Calling in orbital strike!
The fate of the fallen. By 1967, the Tonga Bridge had cost the United States dozens of aircraft and pilots. Many of those who went down never came back.
Calling down a
Those who did
support weapon!
marched, battered and bloodied through the streets of Hanoi, paraded as trophies before being locked away in the depths of North Vietnam's prison system. The Hanoi Hilton, the Zoo, the Briar Patch, each name invoked dread among airmen. The men who entered these walls vanished into a world designed to strip them of everything. Commander Jerry Denton, whose A6 intruder was blown out of the sky near Tanhua, was dragged before socialist film crews. Forced to deliver scripted lines about human treatment, he found a way to fight back. As cameras rolled, he blinked out the letters T-O-R-T-U-R-E in Morse code. His signal, caught by intelligence officers, confirmed what many had suspected. The North Vietnamese were using brutal methods to extract confessions. Lieutenant Commander Jim Stockdale, another Tanhua survivor, took his defiance further. Refusing to be paraded before the press as a well-treated prisoner, he smashed a window and used a shard of glass on his own face, ensuring he could not be used as propaganda. Air Force Captain George McKnight and Navy Lieutenant George Coker managed what few others dared, an escape attempt. In October 1967, they slipped into the Red River under the cover of darkness, swimming downstream in hopes of reaching friendly forces. The North Vietnamese found them before they could disappear. Both men were sent to the infamous Alcatraz camp, where they spent 2.5 years in solitary confinement. The worst years came between 67 and 69, when the Alcatraz gang, a group of the most defiant POWs,
Allied destroyer joining squadron. Deploying Helldiver to combat zone.
Cells, shackled in stress positions for days.
Requesting sentry!
As the years passed, the men resisted in any way they could. They developed a tap code to communicate through cell walls, passing along vital messages and keeping each other sane. They mocked their efforts, refusing to give in completely. When new prisoners arrived, they were indoctrinated immediately. Resist, hold out, and never give the enemy an easy victory. Despite the suffering, some found dark humor in their situation. Bob Peel, a captured F-105 pilot, recalled how prisoners would whisper, quote, "If you don't like it, you shouldn't join." Hearing these words just before an interrogation session was a defiant inside joke. A way to make
T-minus 30 seconds.
For 5 years, the Tanhua Bridge had been frustration in the war. But for these men,
T-minus 20 seconds.
it was the reason they were there, and the mission that had led them into this nightmare. Clash of Aces. The attempts to destroy the bridge did not stop. By 1972, MiG interceptors prowled the skies in growing numbers, while anti-aircraft defenses around the bridge had become even more lethal.
Pelican
On
1
May
approaching
10th,
pickup.
Lieutenant Randy Duke Cunningham and his radar intercept officer, Lieutenant Willie Driscoll,
Pelican
launched
1
their
landing
F-4
sequence
Phantom
initiated.
Showtime 100
Watch where you're
from the
standing.
USS Constellation to target the surface-to-air missile sites near Tanhua. As they crossed into enemy territory, warning alarms blared. MiGs were inbound. The strike group
Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff. Reinforcement extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
These nimble adversaries, though technologically inferior to the F-4J, were capable fighters in the hands of skilled pilots.
Liberty has
Cunningham and Driscoll quickly engaged, locking onto a MiG-17. Cunningham maneuvered into the firing position and launched an AIM-9 Sidewinder missile. The missile found its mark, obliterating the MiG in a fiery explosion. Then came the real fight. Out of nowhere, a MiG-17 dove onto Cunningham 6, its cannon spitting fire. The sky turned into a swirling, chaotic melee at treetop level. Cunningham jinked left, then right, the G-forces pressing him into his seat as tracers zipped past his canopy. Driscoll called out the incoming threats as Cunningham fought to gain the advantage. The MiG was persistent. It followed Cunningham into the vertical, a risky move. The two aircraft went canopy to canopy in a vertical scissor maneuver, where even a hand tremor meant certain demise. Cunningham disengaged, punched his afterburners, and maneuvered for position. When the MiG finally overshot, he fired. The Sidewinder missile found its mark, detonating on impact. But the victory was short-lived. With fuel dwindling and their mission accomplished, Cunningham and Driscoll pivoted toward the coast. However, their return was interrupted by yet another MiG-17, later speculated to be flown by the elusive Colonel Toon, North Vietnam's ace. The MiG executed tight turns and evasive maneuvers, exploiting its superior agility. Cunningham pushed the F-4J to its limits, engaging in a series of high-G stunts. The dogfight spiraled downward, with both aircraft descending rapidly. At a critical moment, Cunningham performed a high-speed vertical climb, forcing the MiG to follow. As the MiG began to stall, Cunningham rolled his Phantom inverted and went into a dive, gaining a tactical advantage. Driscoll secured a radar lock, and Cunningham fired their final Sidewinder. The missile struck the MiG, sending it plummeting in flames.
Orbit
This third
synchronized.
victory marked their fifth overall, making them the first U.S. Navy aces of the Vietnam War. As they egressed the area, a SAM battery locked onto the aircraft. Despite deploying evasive maneuvers and countermeasures, the missile detonated near their Phantom, causing catastrophic damage. With the aircraft engulfed in flames and control systems failing, Cunningham gave the command to eject. Both aviators parachuted into the Gulf of Tonkin, approximately 5 miles offshore. Upon reaching the water, they activated their emergency beacons, aware that North Vietnamese patrol boats would soon be converging on their position. As the enemy boats quickly approached from the shore, an SH-3A Sea King helicopter from Helicopter Combat Support Squadron 7, call sign Big Mother 65, rushed in for the rescue. Navigating through hostile territory and under enemy fire, the crew located Cunningham and Driscoll. A rescue swimmer plunged into the river, securing Cunningham first. Driscoll, exhausted and bleeding from the ejection, barely made it. As the helicopter lifted off, tracers followed them into the night sky. But their ordeal was not over. A second wave of enemy fire erupted from the shoreline. The Sea King pilot performed evasive maneuvers, banking sharply to avoid incoming rounds. Below them, North Vietnamese patrol boats sped toward their position. The helicopter's door gunner opened fire, raking the water with suppressive fire. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Sea King crossed into friendly airspace. Cunningham and Driscoll were taken to USS Okinawa for medical evaluation. Their ordeal had lasted just a few hours, but the intensity of the combat and subsequent rescue would stay with them for the rest of their lives. Upon returning to USS Constellation, they were celebrated as heroes. The next day, they were recommended for the Navy Cross. Reflecting on the engagement, Cunningham noted the importance of training and preparedness, stating, quote, "The edge we had was in our training and the trust we had in each other." A promising new weapon. The bombing campaigns in 1965 had failed. Operation Carolina Moon had ended in disaster. The bridge stood, helping deliver tons of troops and supplies to the front lines and defying every attempt to bring it down. But by 1972, American technology had caught up with the problem.
5
The
years.
breakthrough came in the form of precision-guided munitions. The Air Force had introduced laser-guided bombs, specifically the Paveway series, which allowed for unprecedented accuracy. No longer would pilots have to rely on the sheer volume of explosives. Now, they could place bombs exactly where they needed to be. Convoy would be the ultimate test. On May 13th, 1972, the mission was launched. F-4 Phantom from the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing, led by Colonel Richard Moody Sutter, took off from Ubon Air Base in Thailand. Their payloads included GB-10 2,000-pound laser-guided bombs, top-of-the-line stuff.
Helldiver, you are moving outside the mission area.
Which relied on dive bombing and free-fall munitions. These weapons were guided to their targets by laser designators, ensuring bullseye accuracy. As the strike force neared Tanpa, North Vietnamese air defenses erupted. Radar-guided 85mm and 100mm anti-aircraft guns filled the air with lethal shrapnel. Surface-to-air missiles streaked skyward, hunting the incoming aircraft. The Phantoms dodged, rolled, and countered with electronic jamming. One pilot later recalled, quote, "The sky was a solid wall of fire. It felt like flying straight into hell." The first wave of aircraft designated the target with laser guidance. The second wave released their bombs from high altitude. The paveways locked onto the reflected laser energy and rode it down with precision. The first bomb hit the bridge's central span. The explosion ripped through the steel supports, sending debris hurtling into the Ma River. The second bomb struck moments later, tearing through the bridge's underbelly. A weapons officer reported, quote, "The bridge seemed to convulse, like it had been struck in the spine." Within seconds, the unthinkable happened. The Tanpa Bridge, fortress of the North, a symbol of American air with lethal shrapnel. Tanpa would be the ultimate test. On May 13th, 1972, the mission was launched. F-4 Phantom from the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing, led by Colonel Richard Moody Sutter, took off from Ubon Air Base in Thailand.
Warning, you are leaving the mission area.
2,000-pound laser-guided bombs, top-of-the-line stuff. Unlike previous strikes, which relied on dive bombing and free-fall munitions, these weapons were guided to their targets by laser designators, ensuring bullseye accuracy. As the strike force neared Tanpa,
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver.
Radar-guided 85mm and 100mm anti-aircraft guns filled the air with lethal shrapnel. Surface-to-air missiles streaked skyward, hunting the incoming aircraft. The Phantoms dodged, rolled, and countered with electronic jamming. One pilot later recalled, quote, "The sky was a solid wall of fire. It felt like flying straight into hell." The first wave of aircraft designated the target with laser guidance. The second wave released their bombs from high altitude. The paveways locked onto the reflected laser energy and rode it down with precision. The first bomb hit the bridge's central span. The explosion ripped through the steel supports, sending debris hurtling into the Mar River. The second bomb struck moments later, tearing through the bridge's underground. A weapons officer reported, quote,
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldivers.
Within seconds, the unthinkable. The Tanwa Bridge, fortress of the north, a symbol of American frustration, collapsed with electronic jamming. One pilot later recalled, quote, "The sky was a solid wall of fire. It felt like flying straight into hell." The first wave of aircraft designated the target with laser guidance. The second wave released their bombs from high altitude. The paveways locked onto the reflected laser energy and rode it down with precision. The first bomb hit the bridge's central span. The explosion ripped through the steel supports, sending debris hurtling into the Mar River. The second bomb struck moments later, tearing through the bridge's underground. A weapons officer reported, quote, "The bridge seemed to convulse, like it had been struck in the spine." Within seconds, the first bomb hit the bridge's central span. The explosion ripped through the steel supports, sending debris hurtling into the Mar River. The second bomb struck moments later, tearing through the bridge's underground. A weapons officer reported, quote, "The bridge seemed to convulse, like it had been struck in the spine." Within seconds, the unthinkable. Tanwa Bridge, fortress of the north, a symbol of American frustration, collapsed.
Helldivers, you are moving outside the
Smoke
mission
and dust
area.
billowed in the sky as the structure finally gave way. The mission had lasted only minutes, but it had accomplished what years of thought failed to do. As the Phantoms turned for home, sand still falling. 2 aircraft were hit, one pilot ejected near the coast, but the rest made it back. In the debriefing, the success of the mission was confirmed. Years of wasted ordnance, lost pilots, and frustration.
Mission at 10 minutes remaining.
For Hanoi, the destruction of the Tanwa Bridge was a severe blow. It crippled the North Vietnamese supply network, forcing them to reroute supplies through less efficient means. For American pilots, it was a moment of victory. But it wasn't meant to last. Before the dust settled completely, North Vietnamese engineers were already hard at work trying to rehabilitate the structure. Pulling pilots out of hell. The war over North Vietnam raged on. American pilots still flew daily into some of the most dangerous airspace on Earth. And when they were shot down, a new kind of battle began. The Air Force's elite pararescue crews, the Jolly Green Giants,
If you just run through, you should be alright.
risked everything to bring them home. On May 18, 1972, an F-4 Phantom from the 8th Technical Fighter Group was torn apart by a surface-to-air missile over the Tanwa region. The pilot, Captain Mark Stevenson, and his weapons officer, Lieutenant Paul Reed, ejected into the thick jungle near the bombed-out ruins of the bridge. The moment when parachutes deployed, the chase was on. North Vietnamese patrols, already on alert from the recent destruction of the bridge, mobilized instantly. Stevenson later recalled, quote, "They knew exactly where we were coming down, and they were coming fast." Back at Da Nang Air Base, an HH-53C Super Jolly Green helicopter from the 40th Aerospace Rescue and Recovery Squadron scrambled. Led by Major Joe Wolverton, a crew included a team of pararescuemen trained to drop into combat centers, fight off enemy troops, and pull stranded pilots out.
Requesting sentry!
They'd done this before, but no one underestimated the risks. Tanwa was a fortress.
Calling down a
Every
sentry!
chance to raid. As the Super Jolly Green crossed into hostile airspace, its escort of A-1 Sky Raiders, call sign Sandy,
Firing
swept ahead,
orbital barrage.
strafing
Clear the area.
The helicopter plunged toward the jungle cannon, its roller wash flattening trees, as Wolverton searched for a clearing. Below, Grady and Stevenson were running for their lives. Gunfire crept through the trees.
You have been a
North Vietnamese
stolen
soldiers
mine
were
of
trying to
freedom.
capture them. They
Extract
were trying to
when ready.
eliminate them before the Americans could get to them. The helicopter hovered just long enough The repeat
Didn't kill anything for the longest time.
Pelican 1 arriving at coordinates. Shuttle inbound.
bleeding from the shrapnel wound. A second later,
This is Pelican 1, preparing for touchdown.
His sidearm empty. The team lifted them into the hoist. One pararescue man later said, quote, "We were maybe 5 seconds from being overrun." As they climbed, the enemy opened up. The 51 caliber machine gun tore into the fuselage. The helicopter buckled as Wolverton fought to keep control. The crew chief shouted, quote, "We're hit. We're hit." Fuel was leaking, but they were still flying. The Sky Raiders dove, unleashing napalm on the pursuers.
Countdown
The enemy
initiated.
fire slacked
Stand by for
just
takeoff.
enough for
Extraction
Wolverton to push
complete.
the throttle
Pelican
forward,
1 beginning
flying
ascent.
for altitude. The damage super Jolly Green barely made it back to Denali. The crew counted 47
Today you
bullet
carved
holes in
another
the
foot
airframe.
in a long
The rescue had
climb
taken
to
9
liberty.
minutes from start to finish, but in those 9 minutes, they fought off an army to save 2 men. One final strike. The Tanhua Bridge had been struck down in May, but within months, a temporary crossing was in place. Supplies were moving south again. The bridge had to be hit one last time, not just to destroy the structure, but to obliterate its usefulness forever. By late 1972, U.S. air power had reached its peak in Vietnam. The failures in earlier campaigns had forced rapid technological advancements. The introduction of the paveway laser-guided bomb had changed everything. Precision had replaced brute force. What once took hundreds of bombs could now be done with a few. On October 6, 1972, B-52 Stratofortresses from Anderson Air Force Base joined the attack for the first time. Up until then, B-52s had been used primarily for area bombing in the south, but their payload capacity and range made them ideal for finishing Tanhua. The strike package also included F-4 Phantoms, A-7 Corsairs, and Navy A-6 Intruders, all carrying advanced guided munitions. The North Vietnamese, knowing the Americans would return, had reinforced their defenses. New anti-aircraft sites were constructed. SA-2 surface-to-air missile batteries had multiplied. Radar operators tracked American flights and carriers in the Gulf of Tonkin the moment they left Thailand. The pilots knew the risks. Tanhua had become a graveyard for American aircraft, and the defenders had only grown more fierce. As the B-52s approached, their electronic warfare officers jammed enemy radar, but the air was still thick with flak. Surface-to-air missiles streaked through the sky, hunting the bombers. Fighters darted through the chaos, releasing chaff and countermeasures to keep the strike force intact. When the bomb bay doors opened, over 100,000 pounds of explosives tumbled toward the target. The first detonations turned the remaining bridge supports to dust. The second wave shattered the riverbanks, ensuring no quick rebuild. The third crushed supply depots, cutting off any chance of recovery. In a single mission, Dragon's Jaw was utterly annihilated. The defenders, who had held the bridge against American attacks for 7 years, had nothing left to protect, nothing else to repair. The air defense batteries, once the fiercest in North Vietnam, fell silent. The supply lines were severed, forcing the North Vietnamese to reroute operations permanently. The Tanhua Bridge campaign was one of the most intense and costly air campaigns of the Vietnam War. Over 100,000 sorties were flown over North Vietnam in 1967 alone, with a significant portion targeting the bridge.
Helldiver,
Hundreds of
take
American
command
pilots
of
took
the
part in
galaxy's
missions,
liberation.
and approximately 104 American airmen were shot down over a 75-square-mile area around the bridge during the war. For the American pilots who had fought over Tanhua, the mission was vindication. Too many had been lost. Too many aircraft had been torn apart. But the objective had finally been achieved. The bridge that had defied everything thrown at it was gone.
Why didn't I get an alarm? Well, it is 1 p.m. I don't know if I can do 2 hours of an archaeology debunk. Most exciting stream ever. Of all time. Of only ever all time. Only ever was so stupid. And redundant. And so many people jumped on the bandwagon and started using it. And it just looks wrong and it sounds goofy. But here we are. I don't know what face that is, but it looks really familiar. Wait a second, I should have seen all of it. Intro words. Okay. Best and worst wardrobe in Helldivers. Oh, okay. Let's try the Men in Black scene since the 1600s. Who are the Men in Black? Real account of a paranormal mystery by Metaphysical.
After a
This is going to be
UFO
fantastic.
sighting, witnesses have reported that mysterious men wearing dark suits and hats showed up, sometimes threatening the witnesses not to ever tell what they've seen or else. If you thought Men in Black was just a movie, there's a whole historic record back to the 60s, 50s, maybe even much further back than anyone ever considered before. Today on Metaphysical, we're going to go over it all. Between the most famous stories you may have heard of, the ones that haven't really seen to remote viewing data on these mysterious men, this conversation is about to get pretty weird. Join me, investigative researcher Rob Counts, and remote viewer John Govango for a metaphysical show that's going to be out of this world.
If you're listening to this metaphysical podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or anywhere else, that 5-star rating and review really helps us spread like a virus. Remember, you gotta like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook.
John, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Good.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing the podcast for 2 years now, and we haven't gotten into, only anecdotally, we have gotten into the Men in Black, but today I'm pretty excited that you and I are going to have a chance to talk about some of the strangest stories we have in history, and I think maybe it's one of the deeper rabbit holes that you could get into. I mean, it doesn't really end. You just keep finding weirder things, and you just start wondering what's going on, because I don't think that the 1940s or the 50s is where all of this started. Well, we'll get into some of that, but what do you think, if you were going to define what the Men in Black were for the audience at home,
I mean that the phenomena covers a sort of a broad range, probably a range that most people don't know about, which we're going to go into because the phenomena can vary. But to me, my first experience of understanding the Men in Black was through John Keel's work, who was an investigator in the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, who coined high strangeness, who coined the term Men in Black, and he was the primary paranormal investigator behind the Mothman, and wrote the book Mothman Prophecy. So that was like my first experience in understanding about the Men in Black, and that is full on high strangeness.
I heard about Mothman on Invader Zim.
So that's where I go with
This
like,
one Dib was always hunting.
Bizarre behavior and like what the heck are these things and what are they doing? What's their purpose? I would put to like this thing that goes and warns people, like, you know, don't talk about your UFO sighting. You know, bad things will happen to you.
Which
That's
yeah,
go ahead.
That's weird enough in and of itself. But then,
well, I don't know. Is it? I mean, that's like the government does not want people, especially like when you get back to the 60s and stuff, 70s, and earlier than that. They were really trying to keep a lid on that stuff. And if there was something going on, I think that they would have been more apt to warn people, you know, individually. No internet, people couldn't talk about it very much in general. It's like a scary person shows up at your house, tells you to talk about it, you probably won't.
yeah, I agree. The strange thing I think about a lot of the stories is that it gets a little bit outside what you would consider to be normal government officials. It does. It goes into the land of high strangeness. I mean, when you go back and you read the original Majestic 12 documents that they say are untrue and this and that, and you and I both know that stuff is legit. The Majestic 12, which was a group of
it's the
men,
washing
I guess
machine.
you could say, that kind of created the foundation for how to deal with
I thought it was so windy it might be blowing the
UFO
gate down
landings
again.
that were occurring in the United States back in early 20th century. We have things that seem to not be a part of what would be a normal human interaction between government officials and men. And of course, again, we're going to be getting into some of this, but the documentation that I read from the Majestic 12 really was discussing how to distract people from what was going on, essentially. These are normal art of war type methods of discrediting people, coming forward with stories, certain things that they could do with propaganda. I mean, we know also that Hollywood has been doing things like this. I mean, the fact that you can't even search for Men in Black without a ridiculous amount of pages of having to see Will Smith in a suit and Tommy Lee Jones is, to some extent, I mean, why is that? Of course, it's a fun story.
Why
so
is
many
that?
Of our original weird stories have gotten.
If they're starting off stretching like this is going to be a riot.
You're not seeing the stuff that you're actually looking for.
Right. Yeah, it takes over the search results. It's what you think of when you think of Men in Black. I don't think of that movie when I think of Men in Black. Not at all. But most people do.
I do.
Right? Most people do. Because my experience with
It's a great
the
movie.
Men in Black stuff was that movie came out.
I should watch that movie
I have
instead.
had experience with it. You know, if I read a book... So that movie, I thought it was fun, funny, but is it the reality of the Men in Black? I mean, we'll get to this, but that's a question that you have to ask. Is like, these movies that come out in Hollywood, is it a soft disclosure or is it hiding something else?
Well, I think one of the cornerstones of propaganda related to this type of content is that if the the story is already out there and it's fictional, the reality won't shock people as much, and they won't even pay attention to it.
I don't know about that with this.
Men in Black, though, making it just out there and ridiculous and then so fun.
Yeah.
And then you hear a story about real Men in Black with skin that's nearly falling off, coming to threaten someone about a UFO sighting.
Yeah.
You think it's ridiculous, you know?
Right.
But John Keel, back to John Keel, I think for those of you
That was Edgar, wasn't it?
John Keel really was the first guy to really start putting things
That
together.
was a damn nice truck.
And a very, very interesting character, and there is a lecture that you can watch.
Oh yeah, this stuff.
Probably find it on YouTube. John even sent me one the other day where he's discussing general research that he's done over the years on the Men in Black and who the Men in Black are.
Looks like the pest control people here are early. Or here early.
The Men in Black and black Cadillacs arrived at the scene of UFO incidents. As I'll describe to you later, there are all kinds of Men in Black. They're
I should probably just stop so I don't make it another